This tutorial will discuss session files in Corelyzer and how to share your Corelyzer sessions with others on other machines. So I have this session open. As you can see, there's a session. It contains 3 tracks, and each of those tracks contains several sections. We have various data plots. When I choose to save a session, it saves the current state of all those things: their position, what data is plotted, what cores are loaded, what data files are loaded. So it's important to remember to save your session after you make any changes like that. So for instance, if I move this track, as a simple example, let's move this track way down here. If I now close my session without saving, oops, I didn't actually close. I do want to close. If I reopen that session, as you would expect, that movement has been lost because I didn't save my session. And again, same applies for adding images, data types, plotting things, unplotting things. So it's very important to make sure that you save your session when you make any changes like that. It is also important to understand how a session file works, and to understand that a little better, let's just look at our session file here on my desktop. So there it is, this GLAD HST03 CML file. If I look at the properties of this file, you can see it is really small. It's 16K, which is super tiny. And that should give you a clue, perhaps, that this does not contain all of the data that's in this project. Like, these image files alone are, several megabytes a piece. Our data file is definitely larger than 16K. So the point is that none of this information is stored in that session file. All the session file is a file that tells Corelyzer where these image files and where the data files live on this local machine. So a session file is very specific to the machine that it lives on. If I wanted to share my project with you, if I just gave you the session file, it's not going to work. Unless you happen to have a duplicate machine with the exact same file layout, and you have the source images here in the exact same folder, in the exact same location on your machine, and same for data files. That's never going to happen. So basically, sharing session files is not the way to share your data with others. The way to properly share a Corelyzer project and session is by doing the following. What you need to do is export an archive file. To do that, you go to the File menu, go down to Core Archive, and choose Export. And I'll save mine to my desktop, and I'm just going to call it GLAD4 HST03. And this will be saved with a .car extension, which stands for Core Archive. So when I click Save, you'll see the progress bar chugging away there a little bit. This is a pretty small project, so it did not take very long. And you get this message: Core Archive export to file GLAD4 HST03.car succeeded. So let's go take a look at that file now. So here it is. There's the car file. And if I look at this, and look at its size, you can see that it is 55.3 megabytes. Now that makes a lot more sense. That's a reasonable size for, the 12 to 15 images we have, the data file, like that seems very reasonable. And in fact, this does contain all of that data. So this, if I wanted to share with a colleague on a different machine, this is the file that I would send to them. And then if let's say I was that colleague receiving this file, even though I'm on this machine, let's say you had just sent me this file. To open that Core Archive file, all I do is go down to File, Core Archive, and choose Import. And then I select that file, click Open. And now this happened really fast because all the data for this was already on my machine, but typically that would take a little bit of time. But anyway, under normal circumstances, it would just take a bit of time to extract that file, load all the data up, and you would end up with the duplicate of your session. So that is how you share data with others. Don't share with a session file, because that is very specific to the machine that it is on. Instead, export a Core Archive file and send it to your colleague, and then have them import that core archive file, and then they should end up with an exact duplicate of your Corelyzer project. So that's an important caveat when it comes to sharing Corelyzer sessions.